When it's night time in Nevada, I'm dreaming of the old days on the prairie and you. The golden sun.
The name Nevada has long evoked romantic images of the Old West. Ironically, it's actually one of the most urban states in the nation, with most of its population concentrated in the Reno and Las Vegas areas. But you don't have to look far to find traditional ways still flourishing on old-time ranches and farms throughout the state. To honor these family-owned properties, the Nevada Historic Preservation Program initiated the Centennial Ranch and Farm Awards in 2004. To qualify, a family must be currently ranching or farming the same property for 100 years or more, with 160 acres or with gross annual sales of at least $1,000. In the first 3 years of the program, an impressive 29 properties were honored by the Historic Preservation Office in a program carried out with the Nevada Department of Agriculture, Nevada Farm Bureau Natural Resources Conservation Service, Nevada Cattlemen's Association, and the Ag Council.
A feedlot steers.
Now we'll take a closer look at two of these properties, one surprisingly close to Las Vegas and one in northern Nevada. For several decades now, Nevada has had one of the fastest growth rates in the nation. But in spite of that, we've been able to hold on to some of the old ways. I'm Gwen Clancy with the Nevada Department of Cultural Affairs, and today we're in Carson Valley at the Scassa Ranch with Dorothy Scassa, whose family has been here for several generations. Can you tell us then about your place in this wonderful old house, and how far back does it go?
My husband's family came originally from Switzerland, and they had wood up in Alpine County, and when the mines of Virginia City went downhill, they decided it was time to buy a ranch. So in 1885, they came here and bought this place. The house was on it at the time, so we don't know how old the house was because we did not talk to the people about it, and if they even knew.
We don't have a chance to see many of these old places. Can we see the inside?
Sure, come on in.
So back in 1885, if we could transport ourselves back in time, what would it have looked like then?
All bare, practically. They had to do a lot of removing sagebrush and getting stuff done. There was some meadowland. No neighbors anywhere real close. It was, you know, very peaceful and quiet. And the mountains never changed. They've always been there. So it looked much like now, only, as I say, no other houses around anywhere. And of course, these trees were not here. My mother-in-law planted most of them.
So this is the old place. Has it changed much?
This is our original living room, and it has changed very little. We used to feed all the hay crew and do everything, and I raised 4 kids here, surprisingly enough, in a small place.
And this old picture on the wall.
Okay, this is the place in Switzerland. They come from a little town called Malvalia, and it was built in 1445 before Columbus discovered America, and there's family still living in it.
Your husband's family still
Yes.
lives in the same house from
1445
Astounding.
Generations.
Astounding. Can't even imagine it. And the kitchen over there looks like the old thing.
It is very much. We had to modernize a little bit because of times. It has changed very little over the years. We put cupboards in, and my sink used to sit over in the corner with no drain boards or anything, so we did modernize it. And but here's our old stove that we still use to heat the house and do the cooking in the wintertime.
You still cook on this stove?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And this right over here, the sink, well, are you in the midst? Did we catch you in the middle of making lunch?
Yes. It's an old sink, but it's big, and I like it, and I wouldn't trade it for all the new ones. We still use so many of the old things. When I go to collectible shops, I find that I look at things and say, I'm still using that. Like this mixer here belonged to my mother-in-law's mother-in-law, and it's not a reproduction, it's the original, and I use it all the time.
Well, standing here in this charming kitchen and looking out the window and seeing the subdivisions coming and the growth coming, this is a very popular place to move.
Well, I don't know whether they look down upon us old farm-wise, still living in the old days, you know, but these modern homes are wonderful and everything, but I've used mine so many years that I wouldn't know how to operate in a new house.
And there's something really wonderful about this.
Yeah, and it's hard for people to believe that we fed hay crews and raised our children and everything all at once in these little places. We didn't have great big rooms and everything like they do now.
But you pulled it off.
We had to. We had to. You have to do what you have to do.
Dorothy Scassa, along with her son Russell and her grandson Jeremy, runs the place now.
Basically, we raise calves. We have mother cows, and they have a calf, and in the fall of the year we sell the calf, and then we also sell some hay.
And so is this what's called a cow-calf operation?
Yes.
And these are beef cows?
Yes.
Well, we're surrounded by buildings that look like they've been here for a while.
Yes, this building right here is the granary. Used to be the granary when they had raised grain, and they'd put it in there for the winter and then use it throughout the winter. This building's probably been here since around 1917. That's what the cornerstone says there. Underneath it, it has a cellar where we used to cut the meat and do the butchering. And then they also put all their canned goods and everything down there because it never freezes down there.
This looks like kind of a place that'd be cool in the summer.
Oh yeah.
Would you hang out there as a kid?
Well, a little bit, yeah. Mom always had root beer hid down there in the refrigerator down there, so.
Root beer, is that where the term came from? Root cellar?
Well, I don't know. She always made some every summer.
Wow, well, you don't see this every day.
No, this is the downstairs cellar, and we used to have to use this, and it's a handsaw and the old cleaver that we used to split the beef with and everything, so we modernized a little bit. But we've found that when we have the time, we like to cut our own meat. It's just, we usually use our own meat, so. We've always had the refrigeration to do our own meat cutting, and we can hang a couple of full beefs in there, and then it has a freezer set up in the back. So we do our own cutting and wrapping and throw it in there, and it keeps us for a year.
So if the whole world around you disappeared, you'd have your own self-sufficient place right here.
Right.
Well, Russell, I see all these fields down here below. Are these your hay fields?
Yes, these are the ones way out to the east is our pasture fields, but the closer ones are our hay fields. And to get a cow herd through the winter around here, everybody has to put up hay and feed it to the cows, and we do put up a little extra, so then we sell some.
So it looks like you store a lot of your hay here. You have leftover then from last year.
Yeah, we've kind of run pretty conservative. We try to have some leftover so that if we're facing a drought, we always have something to protect us and for the next year. And here we have to do it by hand, and then there's a derrick thing that comes down there and picks the hay up and takes it up to the tract, and then it goes on the inside, but you have to do it all by hand.
I was going to say, this is the real thing, isn't it?
Right.
This is the old barn.
So in order to get the hay up there, there's a cable that runs, and it drops the fork down here to the bottom, where you can pick the hay off of a wagon or whatever, or a harrow bed. And then the cable goes through the back of the barn, and you hook, in the old days, they hooked horses to it. Now we use a tractor. But then you need people on the inside to stack it. It takes about 5 people to actually put the hay in this barn right with that derrick setup.
Sure. Well, I've heard too that in the old days they'd have to help their neighbors. Neighbors would help each other because it was such a heavy-duty operation requiring so many people.
Right. Yeah, that's true. We used to, everybody'd get together and we'd help the neighbors and they'd help us. And now everybody kind of does their own thing. Everybody has their own piece of equipment pretty much.
How old is this barn?
This barn was built in 1908, and it's a wood construction. It doesn't have any nails except for the outside boards. The barn was built by Swiss carpenters, and I don't really know the story behind the design, but they put a design on this door, and the Swiss flag is in the middle of it, and they made this real nice, unique door that everyone who comes by here likes to look at and take pictures of. Was
that colored then? Would that have been painted right in the middle?
Oh, I believe it was white originally.
That's heavy-duty hardware there.
Yeah, and then these doors, these places on this side we use for hay storage now, but when they had lots of horses around, they had the stalls on the side, and they had the hay in the middle and up on top, and they had the stalls and the mangers on the side where the horses would get in here and when it was really tough winters. And then they had the corrals on the outside where they could leave them go out when the weather was better.
Is this the kind of construction that was typical in the old days?
I believe so. There was quite a few barns, or most of the barns in this area that I knew of were built this way. They didn't use the nails to try to bring the frame together. They took these logs from the mountains here behind us and they hand-hewed them into, you know, they squared them off enough where they would have boards sit on top of them. And this one you can see has been squared up, and then they had a like a tongue and a groove. There was a groove in this piece, and there was a tongue on this one where they went together. And then right here they had drilled holes in there, and these wood pins hold these pieces together. And they seem to be that they'll just last forever. And
you know, the way that beam is set on there, cut in, is kind of like in Virginia City with the construction.
Right,
of the
yes.
Square timbers.
It's a square timber
thing?
construction is what it's called, yes. All of the old barns were done that way in this valley pretty much. And there's a few of them left, but some of them have burnt down and things.
So these, and the beams here you mentioned are the wood's actually from Lake Tahoe.
Yeah, you know, I don't know exactly,
mountains,
but
anyway.
it is from this area. It was either come out of Alpine County here to the south, or some of this I kind of think came right from behind here, because at one time my grandfather owned some ground farther up into the mountains and had timber on it right behind here. So I think that's where they cut the timber and brought it down and worked it right here and put the barn up.
You must feel proud of them.
Well, yeah, I think they took a lot of pride. You know, it's almost 100 years and it still slides real well on the slide and is real easy to open and close. The old timers took a lot of pride in everything that they built. You can go all over these old ranches and you can see that there was a lot of pride behind anything that was built.
This ranch combines these beautiful old buildings and then the new also, the modern. Jeremy Scassa is the grandson on this operation. What do you think brought your ancestors here in the first place?
Well, it'd definitely be the mountains. You know, they reminded them so much of Switzerland, and through whatever hardships is why they left Switzerland, and they found their way here, and that's where they ended up settling.
And this old building here, the bunkhouse, is, I understand, this is your headquarters.
Yeah, for the moment, that's for sure.
In the Westerns we used to watch, the bunkhouse was where all the guys would be bunking. But now you can handle the work of several now, I guess.
Well, yeah, with the continuation of modern equipment, it takes place of lots of people. I don't know that we work any slower or any less than we ever used to. You know, it seems like now we farm more acres.
Well, what keeps you here on a family ranch when many people your age would be, you know, heading off somewhere else for a job with Microsoft?
Well, I don't know. Never have been one for sitting in an office, that's for darn sure. Love working outside and something different every day. And it's in the blood. You know, it's something I can't ignore. There are times when you think that there is a little bit easier life out there maybe, you know, it surely make more money. But what we're doing here, it's just something in you, it's always there with you, and it'd kill me to ever not be able to do it.
Do you feel pressure from the forces of development that we can see as we look out here? Does it feel like it's coming your way, or is this place so strong, it's been here so long that you can just remain here?
No, you see it coming every day, and it's a hard thing to ignore. And I hope to, at least in my generation, not have to move on because of the push. But every day is a new day, and it continues to get tougher, not easier. So we'll have to see what the future brings, I guess.
We'll head next to the southern part of the state, where Las Vegas and its environs are booming. About an hour's drive east along the Virgin River, just shy of Mesquite, lies the early-day settlement of Bunkerville, established in 1877. There we meet up with longtime dairy farmer Roger Bunker in the town founded by his great-grandfather. And the house that we're working next to here has been in your family for quite a while.
Yes, great-grandmother was the first one to live here, and my grandfather raised his family here, my father, so I grew up here.
Dairy farming was thriving in the valley, and a dairy soon came into the family. Roger grew up learning all about milking and hard work.
Yeah, we had to walk there at least once a day, sometimes twice a day.
In the summer, that must have been pretty hot.
Yeah, we tried not to do it during the afternoon, but mostly in the morning and evening. That's when we do our chores.
Eventually, Roger and his family moved to a modern house that overlooks a farm that reflects an investment of time and energy by several generations of Bunkers. Well, this family farm that you have has been in your family a long time.
For over 100 years, yes. Well, this is my grandfather, Hector Bunker, and actually his father is Edward Bunker, the namesake for Bunkerville. He was the one of the first settlers that come in here. Hector had it, and then my father.
And those are the pictures behind you on the wall
here,
there.
On the wall. And then I inherited it more or less from my father, and now my son, Robert, has the farm. And we even have, of course, grandchildren that are here as well.
Roger's son, Robert, has now taken over the day-to-day supervision of this complex operation.
I grew up here, had chores to do. As a boy, I wasn't as excited about the farm as I am now. But it was just work, and a lot of my friends didn't have to do that, so I didn't think I should have to do it either. But it taught me to work and appreciation for things that now I see some of my friends maybe don't have.
Well, these cows here, these are Holsteins mainly.
All the black and white are Holsteins. You can see a few colored animals down the hall there. There's a few Jersey cows, and we have those just for, I guess, because we enjoy seeing them.
They're pretty.
Yeah, my father also, when he was starting here, they had a all Jersey herd for a period of time. So I think Dad enjoys seeing them too.
One feature you have here, Robert, that I don't remember seeing is the fans here.
We have 120 of these fans. They're 36-inch fans. And in the summer, we'll get temperatures as hot as 120 degrees. And cows don't like the heat any more than we do. They go into what's called heat stress at anything over 80 degrees. So we do everything we can to make them comfortable. Everybody's got shade and fans, and the little hoses hanging down there are from high-pressure mist systems. There's two different pumps that put out a different amount of water depending on the temperature and how hot it is and how humid it is. Try to cool them off as best we can. In the summer, these cows will drink as much as 50 or 60 gallons of water in a day to produce that milk.
Wow. Well, off to the northwest there, we see I-15, the freeway, and people are speeding their way between LA and Salt Lake and points north. And meanwhile, down here, the tempo is very different than it is out there on the freeway. What's a typical day like in the life of a dairy farm?
We milk 3 times a day, so that's 3 shifts. It takes them 8 hours to milk the cows. And when it's time to get milked, they're ready to go. They head right to the barn. They see the gate open up. And in that 8 hours, they'll fill this tank full enough that it's all that a semi can hold. We get a freight break by sending out a semi-load at a time, and that's a semi-load about 2/3 of the way full, 48,000 pounds. And if you come in here, this is where we do the milking. I'm going to show you what goes on in the barn. This is our it's an elbow thing. It should be watertight. I think we were all right. It should do the job. There's a crack up here in this vacuum line, or the tank. I guess I could probably grind.
And how much milk does a typical cow give per day?
Right now our cows are producing 80 pounds per cow per day, which would translate into right close to 10 gallons per cow. Some of our top producing cows would be around 16 gallons, 17 gallons, a lot of milk.
Well, what impresses me, Robert, you know, here we are, only an hour from Las Vegas, and on the other side we've got mesquite and all this development that's coming this way, and yet here you have this working farm. It's in southern Nevada. People don't think of dairy farms for southern Nevada, and yet you've got it here. You've got a day-to-day business and your livelihood. So I would think everybody would want to come and have a tour.
We try to limit how many tours we'd do. It takes a lot of time, and I do tours for my kids that are in school, and
because they have a lifestyle that's different than the other kids.
Sure, they want to show their friends what they're doing and where their dad works and stuff, and the teachers will call and ask if we could do a tour. And then we'll go over to maybe the dairy barn, and maybe we could go over and see that, and up to the calf barn, and we show them, things like the feeds, and this is one of their favorite areas. And then this is soybean meal, and a lot of these things are what's left over from human consumption. The soy oil is taken out of that, and then cows gets what's left. And then this one's cottonseed. They take the cotton out, make our clothes and things, and there's a little seed in that with a little bit of lint around it, and that's one of their a favorite feed of cows, actually, and a very good feed. And that's also one of the favorite things for the kids to play in. If their teacher's being generous, she'll let them run up there. They can dig tunnels and roll down it. It's real soft and fun for them to play in. On this dairy, the size we are, the cows get about $20,000 worth of vitamins and minerals every month. The feed bill is our biggest expense by far on a dairy.
From Roger's dining room window, you can look past the green alfalfa fields that feed the cows to the rapidly growing town of Mesquite. I asked Roger what it was like to have it so close.
Every year it gets closer, yes.
Is there pressure? Do you feel pressure from developers? Do you get letters asking you to sell?
Yes, almost monthly at least, if not more often, somebody approaches us to sell, yes. And then there's another thing is some of the people that are moving into the community don't appreciate some of the things that it takes to make a farm work and be profitable, like some of the smells from the animals and maybe dust in planting the crops and working the fields.
So they might be city people and they've moved out to the country not really knowing what the country's all about.
Right, what it takes to make the green fields that they love so much, what it takes to make them that way.
So what is the best thing about having a farm in the family?
Well, it's a great place to raise family, and it's nice having a heritage for your family and having it close there where they can observe it and feel it, profit from it.
It was a real blessing for me once I decided to come back to the farm and being able to work with my dad and learn from him. And we really grew close, being able to work daily together and learn my heritage and the skills that have made it so I can be a dairyman today. But it's also been nice now that we live right here close to the farm. My kids can come down and work with me, see me, whatever, bring lunch, and enjoy being close to them.
So it's a way of life worth holding on to.
Yeah, it is. It's a lifestyle, you know. Now the valley's grown the way it has. Property values are high. There's probably other ways to make money, but I definitely feel, I don't know if an obligation is the right word, but a kind of an obligation to carry on with what's going on here. And I enjoy it. Farm life's a good life, good place to raise a family.
Every year, additional agricultural properties are designated as Nevada Centennial ranches and farms. If you know a place that deserves such recognition, the Nevada Historic Preservation Office would love to hear from you. Please join us in preserving and celebrating our state's colorful heritage. Call 775-684-3448 or visit us at nevadaculture.org. Besides administering grants, the Preservation Office maintains state and national registers of historic places and runs the State Historic Marker Program. The Preservation Office is part of the Nevada Department of Cultural Affairs, along with the State Library and Archives, Nevada Arts Council, and Division of Museums and History. Through these agencies, the state of Nevada offers a wealth of cultural programs for residents and visitors alike. We invite you to check out our website or call 775-687-8323 in Carson City. And see you next time on Exploring Nevada.